So this guy goes through the drive-thru at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'm assuming that they just opened up the drive-thru, and he tries to abduct the barista. This has been going viral, and luckily he was arrested, but look at this. My God, how terrifying is that? Like, I also don't understand the thought process of this guy. He clearly had thought this through. 100%. At first, I had to watch the clip. I was like, oh, he's just so stupid. He literally thought yoinking the girl by the arm, he was going to be able to abduct her. But he's got a lasso like he's herding or catching cattle. He's got a lasso. He's got a zip tie. It's a zip tie, Brando. Yeah, exactly. He's got a zip tie. So it was clearly thought out. It was premeditated. So in court, this is just looking already horrible for him. You can't argue there was an argument there. She didn't give him his change. No, that's just not the case. The money fell on the ground, and he tried to pull her arm and lasso her. Like, he thought in his head, if he pulled her arm and then he got the lasso around her, the zip tie around like her neck, he was going to pull her through the drive-thru window while she's probably fighting him, and then from there pull her through his driver's side, then into the passenger side and get away, and not thinking about the cameras. It's a drive-thru. It's a busy place. She's probably working with maybe another coworker opening up, or I don't know. Sometimes they do make you, sometimes restaurants make you open up by yourself. Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes they do, but usually there's at least one other person that does show up. Like, look at this. He's got Chevrolet tattooed on his arm. Luckily, with internet detectives and Reddit detectives online, they were able to, after the overwhelming support, arrest the suspect in this case that tried to abduct the victim, which hopefully, you know, the victim, what might seem like a brain-dead attempt at trying to abduct somebody can be absolutely traumatizing and leave a victim really suffering from PTSD for a very long time, or for the rest of their life. Also, hopefully the place that she's working at covers if she's open to like therapy and going and talking to somebody, because again, that is absolutely traumatic. But yeah, he really thought he'd be able to pull her through the window like that. This isn't a cartoon/video game. Laws of physics matter. I really don't know. I can't tell you guys. I really want to talk about this because this is such a sad story. If you're having complications in your marriage, in my opinion, just separate, split up. Such a sad story because this involves children. And clearly with this evidence that shown up, he 100% did.
Defendant Googled.
It's brutal. I know.
Some of the searches are as follows. Keep in mind that.
And he's still pleading not guilty. I know.
6 a.m. At 4:55 a.m. on January 1st, he searched how long before a body starts to smell. At 4:58 a.m., how to stop a body from decomposing. At 5:20 a.m., he searched how to embalm a body. At 5:47.
Why is he shaking his head? Why is he shaking his head? They're found with evidence and you look guilty as a motherfucker, and you are guilty as a motherfucker. Why shake your head, cross your arms, and put on this whole act and facade as if you're innocent? Like, come on with that shit. You're gonna throw like this temper tantrum to try and win the people of the court and just make yourself look better? It's not looking good for you. It's not looking good for you.
5 a.m. on the 1st, how long for someone to be missing to inherit?
Oh,
at
God.
At 6:34 a.m. on the 1st, can you throw away body parts? At 9:29 a.m., what does formaldehyde do? At 9:34 a.m. on the 1st, how long does DNA last?
So fucking sad.
At 9:59 a.m., can identification be made on partial remains?
When things are not going as planned in the marriage, why leave them when you can just murder them and then Google everything, all the steps on how to get rid of them afterwards? It's so fucking sad.
At 11:34 a.m., dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body. At 11:44, how to clean blood from wooden floor. At 11:56 on the 1st, luminol to detect blood. At 1:08, what happens when you put body parts in ammonia? At 1:21
Jesus
p.m.,
Christ.
crime scene clothes away or wash them. Those were on the January 1st. There was also information gained from the defendant's phone, which showed on January 2nd, he was at Home Goods in Norwell, where he purchased 3 rugs.
Do you think they might use some of the absolute stupidity of his Google searches as a defense? Why would such a smart man be so dumb? Kind of thing. The defense will use the best argument they have, even if it's a really bad argument. Yeah, that's true. Or else a good lawyer might try to convince them to plead guilty in exchange for a lighter sentence, or getting a chance to spend the rest of his life in prison, his choice, rather than a more dangerous one. Yeah, he's either going to get life in prison or the death penalty. I think he's shaking his head out of detachment, like he's distanced himself from this. He's shaking his head to say, I disapprove of this. That's pretty bad. I would imagine that would be the natural reaction. Distance yourself from your crimes. Yeah, some people separate themselves, like it's like they're creating a separate personality to distance themselves from it, because it's such a disgusting, plausible, horrendous thing that they committed, that they kind of detach themselves from it. It's the epitome of denial. Thank goodness he is so fucking dumb to the point where he starts Googling afterwards. Just leave. If things are bad and not working out in your marriage, just leave, especially when you have children. Like, what a sad situation where the kids in that scenario, they end up losing both of their parents. Like, it is so sad and tragic, which is the big reason why I don't really get heavily invested in watching true crime. I know there's like a heavy infatuation with it for some people, and it's interesting to see the psyche of it all. I get that. I do. I find it interesting as well. But sometimes for me, it just gets a little too real, a little too heavy. And, you know, because it's like real horrific, fucked up shit that people do. And yeah, so for me, it just gets a little too heavy where I can't watch it all the time. But when you hear stories like this, you kind of just gotta like thank the universe that at least this person was so dumb after they did the crime that they made themselves so guilty in the courts where they're going to be prosecuted to the highest extent without prosecutors having to go through crazy loopholes, try and convince the jury, which can happen in some cases where little to no evidence is found for a long time. If not, it's very hard to find evidence in some of these cases. It's almost as if he Googled, what do you do if your marriage isn't working out? And the result that he got was you murder your significant other. And then he Googled then after, what do you do after that? And then he was going through all the Googling steps thereafter. Like, I don't know, but I just want to talk about that because it just seemed like this past week, there's been something going on in the water and the air. I don't know. It's like a new wave of coronavirus that is affecting the brains of low IQ'd individuals